I'm Isaiah Cummings with JC Writing, a blaze of fantasy, romance, and sometimes both. Alright, I am back to explain more about Drekenvold. So, just a disclaimer to anyone who follows me on Twitter, this is not the video for the god of death or any of the gods. I felt it very important to backtrack and go over the resources before we get into that. So this is what this is going to be about. So without further ado, let's go forward. If you watch my first video, I talk more about what Drekenvold is and why it is, so I won't go into too much detail here. Just know that Drekenvold is a world where magic exists. It was my answer as an 8-year-old, and then again here in my 30s when I decided to revamp it. So basically, this world is a world where anyone in it can access multiple forms of resources that allow them to do what is commonly seen in your worlds of fantasy, such as video games or mangas or, just good old-fashioned superhero or whatever movies. So what I would like to explain is how I explain it. That way, whenever we get into the characters from later on or the gods and what they actually manage, it will be a lot easier to understand. So the first one I'm going to explain is, I don't know why it just comes in my head in this particular order, is the power of the warriors. Now, the power of the warriors, much like most of the resources in Drekenvold, is split into two. You have your raw power, which is, think your DPS warriors, your berserkers, your barbarians, and think your bolster power, which think of your tanks. Bolster is defensive, whereas raw is offensive. Now, the way this works is the person has to be physically fit for it to work, and their body can basically obtain this power through divine means. Basically, the god of power, and then later on, whenever, he stops doing it, is basically, it's in the air, and it attaches to those who are physically fit because their muscles allow for it. It basically opens up so that they can obtain it. And those who practice and, try to get stronger, those are the ones that it attaches to, and they learn to harness this power, this energy through the air. And the same thing goes for the flip side of it, which are for the rogues and the more stealthier of the classes. They use an energy called finesse. There is subtle finesse and athletic finesse. This is, of course, for your sneakier ones, and then there's also for the ones who are like duelist or acrobatics or whatever they're going to be using it for. That's not particularly in the raw power or bowstring power format, but also they're not trying to be sneaky as well. Your gunslinger, think those as well. And theirs work the exact same way. The more they spend time focusing on flexibility, dexterity, things of that nature, their bodies just become more acclimated to absorb this power into them as well. So then the next resource is going to be your magic. This one has the most, somewhat, because you have your arcane energy and you have your arcane magic, and then you have your spirit magic. Now, the reason why I say kinda is because dark energy is also within arcane energy, but it acts differently than regular arcane energy. They actually counterbalance each other a lot. If I have to go into a video later on that will explain just magic, I will, because it's the most complex of all of them. But the short and sweet of it today will be that your arcane magic is done by summoning from the ether. They summon this arcane magic from a realm of magic, and they create it with their mind, basically, what they want. Think your arcane bolts, think your levitation barriers, bolstering people with speed and haste and things of that nature. This would all fall under the arcane category. Whereas your spirit magic is taking what is actually in the physical world and manipulating it, like shamans and witches and people like that, where they're taking fire, they're taking the spirits around them, they're taking the earth beneath them and water and using it to whatever means they need. So this would be your spirit magic. Next on the list, we have the monks. The monks use a chi energy, where they have chi of the mind and chi of the body. Chi of the mind and chi of the body are completely different, even though they're both chi, but the chi of the mind is more of your omni sense of monks, the ones who can use their way of chi to understand the world around them and basically predict what's going to happen. They're the ones who are more wellness, and they can use it to protect their bodies. They're the ones who can like read minds and predict their opponent's attacks and hit points to shut off other people's energy. Whereas the key of the body are the ones who are bolstering themselves or using them as weapons, basically. The ones who can make themselves as hard as rock, or they can fly, or they can fire energy bolts of ki out. Those are what the key of the body is all about. So then the last of the energies is your divine. These energies come directly from the gods that rule over them or that oversee them, and they can use this divine energy to basically bring out the presence of the god and use it in ways that they are allowed to, such as, they're more the ones who do barriers and healing and, just using divine energy to smite the enemies of their particular gods. Later on, when that becomes less of a thing, they're still able to summon that feeling, that image, that emotion of it, such as righteousness, pride, things of that nature that stood for that particular god, by using an artifact or a shard of that particular god to use it that way. That's how they're able to do their other things. Now, lastly, there is another group of people that needs to be talked about, even though they don't really have a resource. That is the technology. In this world, there are people who want to be warriors and things of that nature, but they don't really have the resources to do so. So what they end up usually having to do is they will use technology to get around it. They have studied the arcane arts, the spirit arts, the physical arts, and the divine, and they have found the weaknesses for it or ways to replicate it with technology, and then they can basically circumvent that. Of course, it comes with its own issues, such as, needing power for it, being able to malfunction, things of that nature, but they are capable of doing it without actually using that particular resource. All right, so now that I've explained the resources a little bit better, I believe this puts us in a good spot to stop. That way that whenever I come back, we can go over a little bit of the lore and more of the races. If you have any comments or concerns, or just drop me a link in the comments, and I'll be happy to go over that particular one. But me thinking of it right now, more than likely, it's just going to be more detail of the races and the cultures that go along with it, possibly the gods, and a brief overview. Then after that, I will get more into detail about who the gods were and things of that nature. Of course, I don't want to spoil anything because some of these are books that's going to be being worked on, such as, I do have a published book out called Elixir of Feelings. It's during one time period, and I have another book called Spark Reignited, which is being worked on now. It's going through edits, but it should be done very, very soon. So if any of you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on my website at ijcwriting.com. You can reach me on Twitter at ijcwriting. You can reach me on Facebook at Isaiah J. Cummings, and Instagram at ijcwriting as well. But I'm going to be honest, I'm really only active on Twitter and my website. Also, if you go to my website, you will notice that I do daily prompts, or I try to do them every day. I think I've only missed one so far. But I understand that everyone's a little busy, but, they're little quick prompts. I mean, I think they're all underneath 400 words. I think the most one's like 363 words, something of the nature. Just little quick snippets to, give you a small window into who the characters are and things of that nature. I will leave a link to my website and all my social media below. Again, feel free to comment, like, subscribe. Please let me know what I can do to make it better. Again, I'm here to explain things so that whenever you do read my works, you will understand it more. All right, again, my name is Isaiah Cummings. I'm with IJC Writing, a place of fantasy, romance, and sometimes both. And I will see you next time. Bye.